point. Let's take a look at the election of 1800, also known as the Revolution of 1800. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Couple things. You guys know Thomas Jefferson, who had lost the election previous to this. You guys remember that, right? And that was known, pretty much his battle of starting the Democratic Republican Party. With the Revolution of 1800, which is that election is also known as. Couple things. First time we've got mudslinging coming into play. You guys also know that with that, it's going to go to, obviously, a series of voting rounds that are concerned with Jefferson and also Burr. And when we see the presidency come into play with the election of 1800, what's specifically key about the election of 1800? What is known as Jeffersonian democracy? You guys know this. It's the first time in American history we saw a difference in political party, right? We had the Federalist presidents up to this time, right? So we have Washington and Adams, which is what we covered on Monday. Now we got Jefferson in play. With the Jeffersonian Democrats, as you guys remember, the Democratic Republicans, with this two-party change, what are they going to leave in place from the Federalists, and what are they going to change? Most people thought that he was just going to do a mass sweep, okay, away from the Federalist Party, when in fact he left a lot of stuff in place. You guys remember we talked about on Monday Alexander Hamilton's economic plan. Was it sound? The answer is yes, absolutely. One person, no. Good job. Did it take the country out of debt? Did it secure our national credit? Did it pay off the international debt we had? Absolutely. Alexander Hamilton, a lot of controversy in there, Whiskey Rebellion, things like that. So, because he hated Alexander Hamilton so much, people assumed that he was just going to do a blanketed sweep away. That was not the case. He left a lot of that stuff in. However, one thing he did repeal was obviously the whiskey tax. Next item. If you see questions featured on the AP exam about what the basis of Jeffersonian democracy was, remember that he is a individual rights and liberties kind of guy. Remember, he's the Declaration of Independence guy. Big advocate of, obviously, John Locke, natural rights, life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness, and all that other kind of stuff, okay? He believes, remember, that farmers are the backbone of the country. Remember how I gave you a chart that said what do Federalists stand for and what do Democratic Republicans stand for, okay? And remember, Democratic Republicans are for the small man, okay? More state control, less federal control, right? Okay, because that's the basis of Thomas Jefferson's whole piece, okay? Natural rights, limited federal government, etc. Okay? Also, he is a guy that believes, how does he feel about the Industrial Revolution, by the way? Thomas Jefferson.
Doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it. He thinks that industry is going to be the ruin of America, right? He believes that small farmers are the backbone of the country, okay? So as we go into play, here I'm drawing your attention to the Marshall Court legacy again, okay? First time we're going to see, remember the midnight judges, right? Before John Adams leaves office, he can, which every president can, before midnight, the night that he's going to leave office, they can appoint as many of their party members on the Supreme Court Chief Justice seats as they can. John Marshall is one of those midnight judges that essentially gets appointed by John Adams before leaving. Now, this is where we run into a series of the Marshall Court cases. That's why I had you guys highlighted. So make sure that you guys remember these and note them. The first and foremost, the one that establishes what? Marbury versus Madison establishes the concept of what? Two words. Judicial review, right? It gives the Supreme Court, for the first time in American history, Supreme Court the duty to take a look at an act passed by Congress, okay, to see if it's constitutional or not, a bill, an act, etc. Okay. The fact is that William Marbury is suing James Madison to force over his court seat in D.C. Okay. The question is, which Marbury thinks, can I get the Supreme Court to literally force over my papers for my job? Okay, while John Marshall and the Supreme Court take a look at that and find that in fact, okay, this is out of the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and what had been established back in Washington's day in 1789 is actually illegal. It's not constitutional. It's just nobody had picked up on it yet. Okay, so basically the case gets thrown out. it's deemed unconstitutional, and it overturns, okay, the case of 1789, which is why they then wrote a brand new one to make sure that it's covered correctly, okay? And basically, that's out of the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, okay? So, in a sense, Madison wins the case, okay? Now, one of the biggest foreign, when you take a look at, that's a domestic policy of Jefferson. When we take a look at foreign policy, probably the biggest thing associated with Jefferson was the purchase of the Louisiana Territory from who?
Napoleon.
Well, it's Napoleon France, which had been previously owned by Spain, but when, remember, Napoleon took over Spain, then he obviously acquires all the territories. We're going to put that purchase in from Spain, from France with Napoleon. We send our guys over to seal that deal, $15 million. Napoleon's done fighting. He's too busy fighting the wars over in Europe anyway. Last thing he wants to do is keep track of this whole Louisiana Territory and the port of New Orleans, okay? So that's sold to us. Who can tell me, raise your hand, why was this kind of a heated debate as far as why Jefferson purchased this land? Again?
It kind of went against his strict interpretation of the Constitution. He didn't know if he had the right to buy it.
Correct. Remember, Alexander Hamilton, the Federalists, they are loose interpreters, constructionists of the Constitution, right? Okay? Thomas Jefferson has always been a strict constructionist of the Constitution, which means basically what it says goes. Nowhere in the Constitution does it talk about buying land from a foreign country. So, he went against his own, essentially his own political views for the betterment of society and was criticized by the Federalists for that. Okay? Alright. With that, we've got Lewis and Clark, which are going to head from Missouri out to the Oregon country, as you guys remember. And the basis is to explore and map out that land so we can start moving out west. When, obviously, them and Sacagawea head out west for the exploration and the mapping of those territories. Okay? Let's get into the duel, right? You guys remember that Aaron Burr is going to be his vice president for the first term. Going to bail on the second term because, remember, he decided he kind of wanted to go off on his own. And he was trying to shoot for to be the governor of what? New York, right? However, he lost that election. So who did he blame for the losing of the election? Alexander Hamilton. Okay? The two start ripping on each other out in the newspapers before finally heading out to New Jersey to duel one another. As you guys remember, the duel does not go in Alexander Hamilton's favor. Okay? He dies. Aaron Burr is on the run. Aaron Burr is now technically not only being wanted for murder because he killed a high-profile figure and because dueling's illegal, even though a lot of times, you know, people kind of look the other way. So what happens with the Burr conspiracy? Okay? Tell me by a show of hands, what was he attempting to conspire to do? Okay? Ryan Tucker, go.
Create a country in Louisiana Purchase?
Correct. His idea was to cruise down the Mississippi River, escape out to the Mississippi River, catch a boat on the Mississippi, head south, and along the way, recruit people on the border to literally come and join him in this brand new territory, and then literally force a secession over there, and then create his own country with him as the president, okay? And then obviously that is referred to as the Burr conspiracy, despite being caught, captured, released, pardoned, and things like that, and then fades away. Okay? So there's that particular piece, okay? Talk about foreign diplomacy. Besides the Louisiana Purchase, was Thomas Jefferson very good with his foreign diplomacy? You would say yes with Louisiana Purchase, okay? You would say yes, fighting the Barbary Wars and sending a message over into the Middle East. Do you guys remember that? Yes. Mediterranean Sea. Okay, we got the Barbary pirates. We sent 3 naval ships over there. We're a presence over in the Middle East and the Mediterranean area. And we established control. That's all good. So don't forget, Thomas Jefferson, Louisiana Purchase, good. Barbary pirates, good. Naval presence out there, awesome. Okay? Now, here's where he gets into trouble. Okay? If you guys remember, the British start to impress our sailors again and also our ships again. So to take a major stand against those guys, what does he decide to do, which is referred to as the Embargo Act? By the way, Embargo Act, successful or not so much? Not so much. Sucked big time. Okay? By the way, that was a great chimed in sucked, by the way. That was awesome. Sucked! Alright. Number one, who can tell me? Raise your hand and tell me what was the breakdown of the Embargo Act. Essentially, what was it attempting to do, Rachel? Go.
No trade with any country.
Okay, we are not going to export any goods to any country, and really this is supposed to hit at who? What two countries? Britain and France. Just send a message. We overestimated, we overestimated how much Britain and France needed our supplies. Because Britain and France took that measure and did what with it? Well then screw you guys, we'll go to any other countries anyway. So it came back to bite us in the butt big time. And basically who is this going to hurt predominantly?
New England.
Well obviously it's going to hurt us.
It's New
But
England.
which part of the country?
New England.
The New England. New England folks. Why?
They relied on trade.
Okay, hold on. Correct. Manufactured goods, okay? Manufactured goods, think about it guys. What sells better? Industrial goods or corn? Industrial goods, okay?
Corn.
Where's Latasha?
Is she not here?
Oh.
Darn it! You can't even have fun at her expense. Shoot! Alright, remind me tomorrow. Courtney, that's your job. Alright.
I don't know. What does that have to do with one of her answers for it? Jeopardy questions was tobacco. It's supposed to be tobacco, like the number one crop. And she said corn. Yeah, I know. That had to be their moment. Everyone was just like, why? Everyone's like, this is easy.